go back into meeting from the recess from last Wednesday. I assume no one's interested in the budget from the media or the public. There's nobody here.
I guess not. I sent it to all of them, everyone that was on the list.
Oh, here we
Here he
go.
comes. Here he
Here
comes.
comes Op New.
Yep.
Welcome.
Welcome.
Morning.
Good morning.
We will not, I call the meeting to order. The quorum is here. We came back in from recess. We don't have to reestablish that. We'll not give invocation and pledge of allegiance this morning. We'll just continue with our meeting. We have 4 additional items on the agenda. In order for us to consider them today, we must have unanimous consent from all 5 commissioners to consider them. So at this time, I will poll the members if they give their consent to add items 1, 2, 3, and 4. Mr. Northey?
Yes.
Mr. Martin?
Yes.
Mr. Elmore?
Yes, sir.
Mr. Turman?
Yes.
And I also vote yes. And do I have a motion that we approve this amended agenda?
I make a motion we approve this amended agenda.
I'll second that.
Okay. Welcome, Mr. Albritton. Well, we're just trying to get
What kind
through
of
so
semi-informal
that you can go do your other
You're the most
stuff.
important man in this bunch.
We have no public officials. We have no citizens, unless Mr. Meek, our sheriff, would like to speak at this time. You have any comments?
No, not really. I mean, we got something on the agenda on down the line.
Okay. Well, okay, then we'll go on down. Our first order of business is consider out-of-state travel requests for investigators to attend FBI training course. You have that as Exhibit A. Sheriff Meeks, do you want to address that? You don't want to make any comments on this schooling?
Well, this is it's a 3-part school, and this is the third and final part. And so we just request an out-of-state travel for him to be able to go to that school, finish that series up.
Do I have a motion that we approve the out-of-state travel?
I make a motion.
Mr. Second.
Get all they can.
I second.
Mr. Northey. All in favor of the motion say aye.
Aye.
All opposed, nay. There being none, motion carried unanimously. Next item is consider funding an agreement with the Board of Education for school resource officers. You'll see a copy of that proposed contract in your packet. It calls for the County Board of Education to reimburse us $75,000 to offset the cost of resource officers,
That's the same as it was last year.
same as it was last year.
I make a motion that we accept this agreement.
Have a second?
Second.
Mr. Elmore. All in favor say aye.
Aye.
All opposed, nay. There being none, motion carried unanimously. Third item is consider amendment to the Southern Health Partners Agreement for inmate medical service. I'll call on Ms. Petty to comment on this.
In your packet there, I think I'd already given y'all a copy of this letter, but I had asked the contracts manager, Ms. Carmen Hamilton, actually, Sheriff Meeks brought this up in your workshop, that eventually that we would need to look at a higher population, especially with the new addition coming on. So I called and asked her to look at it, and instead of using our base rate as 200 inmates, to give us a quote on 225. And then we are not going on that excess. Anything over 200, we have to pay excess for on a per inmate rate of $2.78. By going with a little higher base rate, it brings that the pool share amount per inmate down to $1.25. I think it's a really good option for you. It increases the base rate almost $500 a month, but in the long run, we've seen some pretty steep invoices come through here for overrun, over 200. I mean, you have over 200 almost every day. So this would set our base number of inmates at 225. And I would recommend accepting this amendment.
Well, actually, it will save us money because it's less than half.
Right. It's less than half on your
Per inmate.
per inmate pool, what's called a pool share.
Well, 278 times 25 per day is pretty hectic.
Right.
Yeah, that's, okay. Do I have a motion we accept this contract?
I so move.
All opposed? And do I have a second?
Second.
All in favor say aye.
Aye.
All opposed? There being none, motion carried unanimously. Next item is consider purchase of a 15-foot right-of-way cutter, state bid contract item. Mr. Cap?
Yes, sir, I have, in the budget, this year's budget, current, the one we're about to leave, budgeted for $8,100 for a cutter, 15-foot cutter off the state bid. It's just like the ones we got. And actually, the cost is a little bit more, like $84.31, but I think we got enough to cover that. But, and I'd like to use the one we have now and take one wing off and put it on the little tractor so we can cut dirt roads with it throughout the year, instead of having
Having a double
that
pack.
big, yeah, it's too big to get in there with a
Single wing on one
Yeah.
side.
modify the one we got, so just need permission to purchase it.
Sounds good. I'll agree with that. When you cut dirt roads, let's go for it.
Right.
Is that a form of a motion?
That's a form of a motion.
I have a second.
Second.
All in favor say aye.
Aye.
All opposed, nay. There being none, motion carried unanimously. Next item is our budget. Ms. Petty sent an email out yesterday that, Mr. Capps wished to add 100,000 more in expenditures beyond what was sent out to us on Monday. I don't mind saying I have a little bit of concern about that, with no increase in revenues, and we would have to use our carryover balance, is that correct, in order to do that?
Right. Well, I just tallied what FEMA rock, you know, I didn't have all the information to start with, but I got them in, so I tallied it all, the rock up, and that's what I come up with.
Is, no change in the amount of money that may be coming from FEMA or state you expect in this budget?
No,
year?
I guessed pretty good on the money revenue in right the first time, but it just was more rock. I just, you know, just didn't know, I'm just guessing, but since I got the PWs, I could go down there and tally it up, so that's what it come up to be.
Well, I know they late getting stuff to you sometime.
So what if we purchase this rock and then we get into a cash flow, if we get in a situation where we're like last year when the state and doesn't send that money?
One thing difference this year is all of them small projects, so we get the cash up front, we don't get every bit, we get 75% of it. It's unlike the large project like we had Isaac.
Well,
We had to do the
working out
work
our
and then send it in and get the money. Now we get the money,
Here we go.
complete.
right, so we
I
have,
like paying it forward.
right, that's why I made sure we had written in small projects, broken up, not large, works better.
Mr. Terman, do you have a comment? No, Mr. Elmore?
Yes, I do. The $100,000 you asked for additional adding up to the budget, is that some money that's coming in from, it's gonna be coming in for rock, that's gonna be
That's for
coming in?
FEMA rock,
Okay,
right.
that doesn't, it's gonna be coming to paying, FEMA will be paying for that, what it amount to?
Right,
Okay, that answers
Well,
the question.
This money is not, we're not gonna have to pay it right now, but it's just budget for the year, right?
right. But we're gonna get the
So-
cash, we'll get the cash pretty quick, within a month probably.
So
And you-
if we do have these expenditures, we will have the 75% money coming.
Right.
And you're not
at the
gonna put
end,
it out if you don't have the money, correct?
Say it again.
You're not gonna put no rock out if you don't have the money to approve.
No, we'll have this money.
Yep, it's coming, actually coming, but we'll get paid if we put it out.
It'll be in the bank account, and when we do it, we transfer it.
Okay, that sounds good.
So is that, means you're gonna be able to get the 10% from the state?
The 10% will be at the very end, but now but we get the Isaac, it was a large project, a whole big $700-something thousand. So we had to do all the work and then send in for reimbursement. We did one drawdown, and that's what took so long. I mean, you got to spend your money before you get it. This time we get the money and spend it and transfer it.
I like that.
I got no problem with that then.
Well, just, when it comes, trying to get an explanation, understand it
Right.
better, and appreciate that. Also, we had a request, from another department head, but it's not included in this year, budget, is it?
No, and if I could just kind of interject something here, he sent, we're talking about Judge Bowden, he had requested some additional funds, he sent all of your requests, and, in just speaking with y'all individually, no one was interested in increasing the budget right now. It was, in his opinion, to help offset what he predicts to be additional cost related to credit card services and people having to work overtime to check up and some advertising. It was 2 or 3 things like that. It was about $7,800. He wants it on record. He could not be here today, by the way. He wants it on record that he requested that and that y'all did not approve it. So that will go in the comments in the minutes at his request.
As to
I'm
follow
on it.
up on that, I happened to run into Blaine Wilson yesterday at the restaurant, and I asked him, was there any public service announcements available, and he said there was. And if we use that, there would be no cost, for advertising and those kind of things. So, and I haven't talked to Ms. Gerlach, I don't know if,
Jay, is there, like, any changes like at the probate office, if y'all run them, is there any charge for a public service announcement?
What type of changes are you talking about?
it was to let the public know that instead of us paying the charge for the transaction fees at the probate office, the user now will have to pay that charge.
Yeah, we can actually do news stories about stuff like that,
And at no cost?
and no cost.
Yeah, we appreciate that.
Yeah.
Okay,
Thank you.
sir.
The other thing.
And I did go talk to Judge Bowden about this, but, he had adverse reaction to it. That's all I'll say.
Okay, one other thing I would tell you, that he has agreed to pay the transaction fees for the online service out of his discretionary funds until January. And at that time, maybe relook at it, see how it's going, but he's just adamant that that's where most of the traffic will change from renewing online to coming and standing in line. So he's agreed to cover the cost of the fees just for the online piece.
This is basically to buy tags, right?
To renew your tags, that's all it is. Tag renewals online.
Any other questions about the budget as presented?
No, sir.
I have no question.
I'll entertain a motion that we, for the approval of the budget as presented.
I'll make that, go ahead.
Well, go ahead. You're fine.
Just pick one up.
Go ahead, Commissioner Northern.
Northern?
I make a motion, we'll approve it as is.
And Mr. Elmore seconded it.
Second.
And if it passes and we fall short of money, they gonna make up the difference.
That's
in the
it.
budget.
That's dead on it. Always do.
While you have your motion out here and second, it's open for discussion.
Right.
This motion needs to include some language, and this is per the auditors, about what you did about employee pay raises within this budget. Under the direction of different ones, mainly the chairman, there are line items in here for merit raises, dollar figures that will be used by the department head at their discretion. That's all they can give in merit raises. Now, through the year, there will be some people who complete probationary periods that we've agreed that if they start at the bottom, they will get an automatic bump, but not necessarily if they start up in the middle of the scale.
Right.
Okay, so with that said, each department also includes an amount of $266 per full-time employee as a one-time pay supplement to be given the first week of December. That is incorporated in this budget. It needs to be stated so in the motion. And if y'all can just bear with me and let me tell you how it needs to be stated.
You said
Okay.
260, I thought it was 215.
Well, I'm sorry, the safety bonus is included in that too. It's 215, it's 215.30, and I rounded up to 216, okay?
With a safety
That's-
bonus.
Well, then the safety bonus
okay.
is another
Oh, yeah.
50 or
I know.
100.
We
It's
just want to make
50
sure they got $200 at least.
$200.
The money will be taken out.
Right. Now, there'll be a few people with some tax things that potentially could have an effect, but Not usually. We pay that out as an annual salary, and if you got an annual salary of $215.30, it's really not gonna take any tax, except the
Right.
matching FICA taxes. So,
Safety bonus is $50 for non-sensitive and $100 for sensitive.
that's right,
positions.
and those are all in that line item that basically says safety. I just didn't have a place to put that one-time pay supplement and get it in this budget. It would be paid the first week of December. It would be for the $200 for full-time active employees. We did not address the part-time, but the last time this was done, it was $125 per part-time, but right now we only have one person that is truly considered part-time. It's budgeted, I mean, it can be covered either way. I'll let y'all make that determination, but this motion needs to state that. The following people will be excluded from receiving it: elected officials and state or court-appointed officials. Sheriff, I'm so sorry. It's $200, come on. But it would exclude, it does exclude elected officials. Why, just beat you up every year.
Do you have the wording for that motion?
I have it worded, if I could
Would you please
ask-
read it?
Well, that Mr. Northey makes a motion to approve the FY15 budget to include a one-time pay supplement of $200 per, $215.30 is the dollar figure, per full-time active employee to be paid the first week of December this year, and it will exclude elected officials and state or court-appointed officials.
Good job.
That's your motion.
That's my motion.
Who has the second?
Mr. Elmore.
Mr. Barton, you second that?
Mr. Elmore.
Elmore seconded.
Mr. Elmore did.
Yeah, that's what I said a while ago.
He's giving money away big
Yes.
time this today. Any other comments? All in favor of the motion say aye. All opposed, nay. There being none, motion carried unanimously. Now we're going to take comments from board. I would just like to say this: I appreciate the department heads working with us on this budget, considering we've got this bond payment to make at the airport, which is at tune of $22,500 a month that we're having to make up over last year. Also, our contract with the income from the inmates' phone system due to a federal court ruling and FCC regulations, that income is being reduced from about $100,000 a year to $25,000 a year. So we're looking at and trying to make that up with what our revenues and our sales tax is down, and ad valorem taxes is flat, and that's our two biggest revenue sources. We would like to have done more, but we just don't have the revenue to do it. We have to try to stay within our means. And I just appreciate the department heads working with us.
They did do cuts. They offered the 10% cuts that y'all had requested. You know, you may have to come back later in the year. In fact, there's also a factor in this that I've told y'all this, but the Drug Task Force grant application hasn't been approved. It's a pretty substantial amount of funding if we can get it. If it's not awarded, or some lesser amount, that whole scheme of that budget will be affected, and so will your general fund. But I anticipate a nice carryover of funds from the end of the year going forward into the new year.
What about the CATS grant? Is it approved?
That one's already approved. That one's, it's the one to be concerned about is the Drug Task Force, because ADECA has just routinely cut those grant funds.
Any other commissioners have a?
Well, I'm kind of, like Miss Petty said, everybody's come in and cut and helped. And we're hoping as the year goes on that it's gonna be better than we anticipate. But this is a starting point for what we got. And we'd rather go in because, have a little caution about what we're doing instead of just being optimistic that it's gonna be better. And so we can always go forward instead of backing up, so I do thank everybody.
That airport money will start in January, paying that 22,000, this don't start this next month,
No, it
correct?
starts January.
Starts in January.
Right.
I just want the public to know that it won't start. Like to thank department heads for working hard and doing what they done, taking 10% cut. It's tried to help us a lot, and it did help us a lot to come up with the budget. And I want to thank the commissioner staff, Miss Petty and Pam Steele and Diane and Carrie for what work they done getting this budget ready. And anybody had anything to do with it. That's all I have, Chairman.
Well, I wanted to tell everybody I appreciate what they did, because this is it's been some tough decisions made on everybody's part and some sacrifices, but we had mentioned this briefly before we recessed last meeting about the job that Ms. Petty's staff did on getting us a good audit, and that's something that we want to remind everybody that they worked hard to get it and did it all right, and that makes us look good, and we appreciate it.
Thank you.
Yeah, we had the exit interview and there was no comments on the audit, which is the best audit.
No findings, no comments.
Right.
Thank you.
First time ever, correct, Ms.
It
Petty?
is, first time ever.
And we
My last one here to get to.
That's right.
had other,
That finally got me trained, and now I'm leaving. Yeah. Thank y'all.
And also, we were able to get our bond rating increased to A+.
A plus.
That's great.
That's the only one I ever made.
Mr. Turner?
I just appreciate them. I just add to what everybody else has said, that they did a great job, and it's like I said, makes us look good, and I appreciate that. There was a lot of tough decisions had to be made during the time of this budget being brought together. And I just thank everybody for being as good as they was, and patient, and accepting it, and doing the things that they done, and making it possible for Covington County to operate another year.
I'm just thankful we don't have to come back the last day of September
Me
to
too.
approve a budget.
Me too.
Yeah.
I'm ready to get
That's
on
it.
with it now.
This time I'll call on Mr. Albritton if he has any comments.
No, I don't. Sounds like y'all are staying out of trouble, doing everything right.
Well, if we in trouble, it's your fault, because you didn't
No,
advise us.
believe me, I know that.
Yeah, yeah.
Mr. Kennedy, you got anything? I don't. Ms. Harris? I guess that's all.
You act like you want to say something.
I
Go
want to
ahead.
say one thing,
you
because,
got anything?
because there's always this, conception, or whatever you call it, that the sheriff and I just cannot get along. Okay? I'm gonna debunk that theory and tell you how well we worked together yesterday.
This is the first
His
time.
the first time. No, it's not the first time, but it was so good yesterday that I just have to share it with y'all. His
He's mellowing in the
he's
road.
mellowing. His department accidentally paid a bill that the county general fund's supposed to pay for dispatch services for the jail. It's $13,000, and he brought us record that showed, and I said, no problem, we'll reimburse you, because he had paid it out of his law enforcement funds. And I said, on the other hand, I've got an invoice here for $10,000 that I'm bothered by. And he took it and mulled over it, and he said, he said, I tell you what, just take $10,000 off of that reimbursement you were gonna pay me, and I'll just pay this one. It'll be kind of a wash. So we worked so good together. We didn't kiss and hug or anything. Plus,
Takes a load off of my mind.
plus he also gave us $30,000 from the work release funds that was budgeted for this year, and there he is. He's not even running for election, and I'm up here building him up. But anyway,
That's enough.
it
That's
does
enough about him.
it does say that you can 4 years that you can work together with people, but sometimes personalities do. So anyway,
That was a farewell gift. Huh?
that was a farewell gift. He's so proud I'm leaving.
Mr. Capps, you have anything else?
I don't have any.
So, Mr. Sheriff, we appreciate that.
Yeah.
We thank you.
Any other comments before we adjourn? You're just not there yet. So,
If we don't have any comments, I'd make a motion that we adjourn.
all in favor, stand.
up, let's go.
Got a meeting in Dale,
Get going.
I was gonna say,
Have you been able to work on that